Here, the implementation of an admin being able to remove a previous user, but we don't have the capability of a user being able to unregister themselves, right? Because remember, we removed that capability because we were protecting that affordance only for admin users. So let's implement that. So on the server side, we had written this over here, right? This used to be the delete user, right? This delete user was what all users were using to be able to unregister themselves, right? But it was too broad. So let's implement a narrower interpretation of the action where a user is unregistering themselves, right? So someone who wants to unregister, they'll say, I want to unregister. We don't need the user ID, right? Because the server already knows who's logged in, right? And so unregister is going to remove the currently logged in user. It's going to remove themselves, right? So we don't even have to check, right? So let's implement unregister. Unregister, register. We have unregister function. Unregister request response. And we know exactly who's logged in, is the currently logged in user. So we can get the user request. It would be what? It would be user model dot delete user, right? And we have the ID for that user. It's the request dot user dot underscore ID. And we just have to make sure that that once they have removed themselves, right, that they're no longer logged in, right? That they're no longer logged in, so that if anybody has a cookie for this user that used to exist, well, it's no longer valid. Right? So let's do a function, and we'll get a status that the user has been removed, and we'll unlog them out. We'll log them out. So log out, right? And then we can respond with a 200, responding that send status that, yep, we have been able to remove that one user. Okay, so they won't be able to log in again. So restart that, and let's see what users do I have. So I have Dan, so let's log in as Dan, or WQ. Let's remove WQ. So let's refresh. We'll log in as Dan, or WQ, sorry. Log in, so there I am. And I'm going to unregister. And that didn't seem to do anything. Let's see, did it go out? Console. Oh, right, it's using the old link. Yes. Well, there's nothing for me to return here, right? This is the server side, and on the server side, I'm completing an HTTP request, right? And my return is really a response. The return from this function is only if I want to abort additional execution of this function, right? Maybe I might have something down here that I don't want to execute, right? And so returning would stop me from executing those pieces of code. Return from an asynchronous code, right, like this, has little use, right? What the client is really expecting is a response, right? An actual completion of the HTTP request. It's pending on the client side, right?
But is it going to, when you call response.json, that returns the response?
No, it returns raw JSON. Right, return raw JSON. There is no promise here, right? On the client, right, it wraps this JSON with additional layers of abstraction, right? It puts it in data, and then it wraps it inside of a promise, right? Meaning that anybody who had registered, this is on the client, anybody who had registered with us with the promise object that I had returned. Anybody who had registered, I will invoke you and notify you that, hey, this is the data that came back from the server, right? So so promises don't go across in the network, right? So here, the reason I have this promises is that I am talking to an asynchronous process, right? That is the database. The database has its own asynchronous mechanisms, right? And the client has its own promises because it's talking to an asynchronous machine, right, which is a server, right? But across, right? Across, there is no promises, right? That make sense? Yeah, there's no promises across the network. There's just raw JSON data going back and forth. And again, the only reason that we added promises is for the convenience of being able to write the code in a straight line as opposed to progressively nested callbacks. So we're going to say register, unregister. Yes, so we've removed ourselves and we logged ourselves out. And but on the client side, I'm still using delete, right? I'm still using delete. So we need to change that, right? So on the controller for the profile, on the profile controller, where are we? Profile controller. Instead, when I unregister, where's unregister? So okay, that is a misnomer. This should be unregister. Unregister. So that's a new client side service implementation. So we don't have it. So we'll need to add it to the client's side of the service, which is unregister. So yeah, so instead of delete user, we'll have unregister and unregister implemented right here. So where's delete? Delete user, there it is. So delete is going to be exactly the same thing, but instead of passing an ID, I don't need an ID. Do I? No, I don't need an ID, right? I don't even need an ID. Unregister. I'm just going to tell the server, hey server, whoever's currently logged in, right, is no longer wants to be part of this community. So no arguments. So this is unregister. I don't need any arguments, and this will be unregistered. And no ID. The server will know that it is a currently logged in user. Is that what I called it on the server? Unregistered. Yes, right? Unregistered. And I called it unregistered. Yes. All right, let's try that. Let's restart the server. I believe we're done, right? Unregister. Did I call it unregister everywhere? Maybe not in the controller. Did I? Did I do it in the controller? Okay. Where's unregister? Okay, here's a delete user, right? Let's call it unregister, and here I'm going to call it unregister. In the profile, let's also call it unregister. On the templates, do I have the template here? I don't have the template, so let's change it there. So here, instead of delete user for unregistering, I'm going to say model unregister, and I don't need to pass any arguments. Right, here's unregister, no arguments. I don't need the user. All right, I think that's it. All right, let's try it. Let's try to start the server. Let's see if this blows up. Okay, so I'm logged in. I'm not logged in. Okay, so here's WQ. And WQ no longer wants to be part of the community. And let's put this on the left, like that. And I believe it's this one. Let's unregister. Ah! Internal server error. Okay, unregister. Let's see what the complaint is. It says cannot read property blah 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 right here. Why not? Let's put a breakpoint. So okay, we are making it to the server side. Let's restart. Let's restart. Is the WQ still in here? Let's see. Let's log out. Is WQ still there? No, oh no, so we were able to remove it. Huh. Wait a minute. Delete, so we were able to remove it. Wait, that makes no sense. Wait, let me create a dummy user. Register. Kill me. So register kill me. And so put a breakpoint there. And I'm going to unregister. Okay, so we're here. And do I have requests? So I have requests. Is user there? User model. I have user. I have dog. User. Here's the ID. Okay, I have the ID. And let's continue. Okay, so they've been removed. And send status 200. So okay, so that didn't explode. All right, so on the client side, we can take a look at the profile controller, and we have just unregistered, and this is where we should be coming back to, right? So let's continue. Send the 200 status, and on the client, I did not come back here. Why not? That is weird. So it did remove it. It did remove it. But I sent the response status 200. Interesting. Why did it not go in the right place? All right, so let's add some additional error handling. So this is unregister. I'm not catching the error here. Function error. So this is console log error. And what about on the client service? Client service, unregister. It's this one. Delete. Response data. Do I have a function here? Error. Let me handle it here. Console log error. What about on the server? Might I have an error on the server? No, we came in here, didn't we? So we have no error. Well, let me add it just in case. Ooh, I have a 7 call. So that's going to make an error because the user doesn't exist anymore. User undefined. Okay, probably that's what happened. The second call tried to unregister. Function error console log error. Put a breakpoint there. Let's refresh. Let's restart. Let's refresh, and let's create another one. Register QQQ, and let's put a breakpoint on the source code here. Unregister. Let's follow that. Unregister. Okay, here we go. Let's step in. Okay, API assignment unregister. So that's going to go here in the model. So let's continue. Let's put a breakpoint here too. Continue. So we're on the server side. Delete user. The user is logged in, right? The user exists. Continue. There we go. We're going to log them out. Send status 200. Continue. Now we should be on the client side, and the client side drops the ball. Why? All right, I'll debug this and post a solution later today. Let me log out. Any questions other than why this is not working? All right. Okay.